Good evening, everyone. It's the fan phone in, and it's kind of an emergency fan phone in because Luton Town have appointed Matt Bloomfield as manager. We've gone and we poached him from Wickham. Can you believe it? We were once the poachee, now we're the poacher, and it feels good. It feels a bit different, but I'm happy with it. And I'm here to take your calls. I want to hear from you, the fans, because I'm here by myself. There's no Mark Ryman tonight, as you can see. He's not well, but he'll be back for the match previews and the championship prediction shows. So I want you to call in, keep me company. You can find the link to call in for the Discord. It's in the chat. It's pinned to the top, and they'll be there in the chat with the bots. It will come up with Nightbot, say call in now. And while you're all here, remember to subscribe as well, because subscriptions help, and we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. Can you believe that we started this YouTube channel? Well, we started it a while ago, but it was audio only. And we put up our first video, which was an interview with Lars Elstrup, 1st of July 2024, and we're over 1,400 subscribers now. It's truly amazing, and every single person that watches the videos interacts, likes, subscribes, comments, sends me abuse. I appreciate every single person. I really do. And it's a tremendous journey we've been on, like from that first interview with Lars Elstrup to the latest thing that we released, which was an interview with Joe Jacobson. Don't know if you know him, but he was a tremendous left back. He's retired now. Wand of a left foot. Absolute wand of a left foot. And he gave us some insight into Matt Bloomfield, which you can see on our YouTube channel. And it really is tremendous insight because he played with Matt Bloomfield for a decade. And then Matt Bloomfield managed him. So he's really seen both sides of the coin. He knows him as a person, he knows him as a manager, and he knows him as a teammate and a competitive individual. So I recommend it. I'm not biased because it's the content that we've put out from the OK Football Show, but it really is good stuff, and he gives tremendous insight that you just wouldn't get otherwise. So I highly recommend check it out. There's also my immediate match preview, my immediate reaction to Matt Bloomfield joining, which is actually interesting because, like everyone else, we knew it was coming. It's been going around for quite a while. But enough of me prattling on. I want to hear from you guys. So I haven't had any complaints yet in the comments. So I'm guessing you can all hear me. So that's good. And you're not just watching my lips flap and no words come out. So that's good, isn't it? Normally I have Ryman to tell me that something's gone wrong, and there'll be no technical difficulties tonight. And I see in the comments there's that Matt Bloomfield article that's being spammed. Enough of that. I've seen that enough times. Right, let's bring in our first caller. It's Christian. Right. Good evening, Christian. How you getting on, mate?
Not bad whatsoever. First ever managerial change in my time following Luton, and of course, not the first time I've seen a coach, be poached. Of course, it happens all the time in other sports, especially in the United States. But first time ever seeing it with Luton. First time ever seeing it in the middle of a season, and I think with how Bloomfield has done it in his past appointments, I think we've made the right choice for who was available. I mean, with what he did at Colchester, sure, it wasn't particularly, flashy. Colchester, one of those lower League Two sides, but he's taken Wickham to potentially their second ever promotion to the second tier of English football. I mean, the Chairboys have not historically been a very good club, and they've, and even in recent times, just barely avoided getting relegated to non-league. So for what he's been able to do and the heights he's been able to take him to, I think the logical next step was a lower end championship club. And I know there's people that are, reserved because, he's never managed at this level. But let me tell you a little story. At one point, every single manager that's ever lived and died had never managed a football game, and some of them were pretty good still. So I'm not worried about it, and I think Bloomfield, if he can keep us in this league, for next season, that will be good. I'm not expecting him to, go full HMS piss the league and get us playoffs. Yes, we're only 15 away from sixth, but let him settle in, let him figure out his stuff, let him figure out what we need to do to fit his system better. And, next season, focus on pissing the league and doing what we should have done this season, and that is show the championship who is boss.
Well said. Well said. Are you excited to see what brand of football that he could bring to Luton Town? Because
I mean,
essentially,
yeah,
all you have to compare it to is Rob Edwards, and because you only started following Luton Town after we were promoted, you've seen very few wins.
yeah. I mean, yes, following Luton Town, it's been us very limited because only Rob Edwards has been, in charge in my time here. And yeah, I've only seen like 12, 13 wins my entire time following Luton, which is, pushing 18 months. But I've watched a lot of other football, here in the United States.
You
I
commentate on
attended
it.
23. I do. I attended 23 matches with the purpose of commentating, and of course I did. And something that, at least here in the United States, what they do at the low levels is it's a lot of 4-3-3.
Mhm.
And, it's my understanding that Bloomfield prefers a back four. It's my understanding he kind of likes to run maybe a 4-3-2-1, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So it's not a brand of football that I'm not used to. I think it's an effective brand of football. And I definitely think with the players we have, it's going to work a lot better because, like Alfie Dowdy, being able to be kind of a left back that has some freedom to move up the pitch,
Mhm.
is exactly what he needs to be doing. And a back four gives us a lot more defensively. It gives the midfield doesn't need to be the end all be all of our defense because Lord knows our center backs can't stay healthy, and half the time the back line just lets players walk through them. But I mean, I think what Matt Bloomfield does for his style of football is an effective style of football and will work at this level.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. Christian, I'm going to call it there because, as you can see in the green room, everyone is queuing up. So, really appreciate you, mate. Have a good evening over in the US of A. Right, we're going to bring on Mike. Um, and everyone else in the green room, please bear with me. We'll get through everyone. We'll go to In Tom Lockyer We Trust next, and then Matt, and then Messed Up Ryan. We'll get to every single person. Everyone can have a go. And joining us, it's Mike. How are you getting on, Mike?
Well, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's a Bloomfield world, and we're just living in it. So, what are your thoughts on the situation?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I think ultimately I think there was three. Well, I think I was in agreement with you for a long time. Rob wasn't going.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't seem to be the. It didn't seem to be something that was going to happen. The things that have been said on this show hundreds and hundreds of times before. Um, And I was very much a case of I don't really think there's any. I didn't have much faith in the board to appoint anybody of any real value. Um, I think there was probably three very ambitious people who we could have got in. I think obviously you've mentioned Steve Cooper before. Um, he was obviously probably top of most people's lists. I think in terms of the ambitious appointment. I think Gary O'Neill would have been a very ambitious appointment as well. I think it would have been possible. I'm not saying it was likely, but it could have been possible. And I think the other one that was sort of jumping out for me was obviously Matt Bloomfield. So I think with that in mind, I think that's a real. I wouldn't say it's a coup for the club, but I think it's certainly the sort of manager that we should be approaching, and he does seem to fit the mould from at least where I'm sitting here.
Yeah, well, he is. There is a tremendous upside to Matt Bloomfield. There is, and let's not beat around the bush. He is certainly a cheaper option than, say, a
Yeah,
Gary O'Neill or a Steve Cooper. But at the same time, these managers are sort of down after being sacked, whereas Matt Bloomfield is kind of on a high, currently rising. And
of course.
it's a relative gamble, don't you think, at this stage of the season where our safety is far from secure in this division?
Yeah, I think it is a gamble. It's as expensive, I think, as a gamble as possibly O'Neill or Cooper were in, though, at the same time. The fee that's being sort of banded around is 100,000, I think, for the release from Wickham, I believe. And I think it's easy to kind of think, Cooper and O'Neill, they're both free agents, but in reality, they're not. What you're doing is you're competing against the the gardening leave money, effectively, what they're on, which, considering both of them have just been sacked in the last 6 months from Premier League clubs, is going to probably be a lot more than what we're going to be paying them anyway. So yeah, it is a gamble, but excuse me, it is a gamble. But I think we've got my thought was always is going to be someone who we don't really know that well, and I will be honest, I don't know the way Bloomfield plays particularly well, but going from what is said, he does seem to be the right sort of person for me.
Yeah, he really does. And look, shameless self plug. If you want to get to know Matt Bloomfield a little bit better, I recommend watching the Joe Jacobson interview because he gives tremendous insight into the type of bloke and the way Matt Bloomfield plays. So I recommend give that a go. Shameless self plug. Shameless self plug.
There's no shame in self.
So let's go back to the Rob Edwards thing because you were quite a holdout for a while. And we had these conversations on Discord where
Yeah.
what was the tipping point for you?
I feel like obviously I missed the last sort of 4 or 5, the games post Christmas. I missed them all, unfortunately. But well, maybe not so unfortunate, really. But I felt that after the what was the game just before? Well, the last game I saw was, I think it was Derby. No, sorry, it wasn't Derby. I do apologise. It was Boxing Day. And Derby was a let off, and then obviously there was the loss on Boxing Day to Bristol City, and it was just very frustrating that I was coming out of every single game thinking that was a let off. That was a let off, and it was never. I never felt confident. I never had much confidence in him. I didn't think we was going to be going down, but I kind of had enough hope around him that he was going to struggle into 16th. But then my thought was never. It was never. We're going to finish 16th this year, and then we're going to be in the playoffs the next year. It was always it's going to be 16th this year, and probably 13th the year after. And it was never. I don't think we was ever going to get that magic genie back in the lamp really with Edwards. It was never. It was always a case of the better the devil you know for me, really, more than anything else. Because as I mentioned before, I don't have faith in the club to appoint the right man.
Do
and I
you
would love
think
to
they've got it relatively right with Matt Bloomfield?
I think in this case we have. I think in this case we definitely have. At least from the initial interviews. I mean, I've been listening to the interviews sort of all day. Three Counties interview. I've also listened to the one he did with the EFL podcast last year with Nathan Jones, which I thought was quite an interesting listen. He seems to model a lot of his play on the way Jones plays, which more than anything, that's a positive because wherever your thoughts are on his football, ultimately the success of this club in the last 6 years is almost entirely down to him.
I love Nathan Jones's football.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved it.
It would be a dream. It's a shame that he came back for the second time in a way, because it would be nice if he was coming back for the second time now. But in a way, I feel we've got a proxy Jones really with this. So yeah, I think it is definitely at least from initial viewing, it does seem like the right person, and he seemed to have been. I think the thing which really endeared me is he felt wanted here, and I think that was the fact he seems to be the number one target. And then no club ever comes out and says, "Oh, this guy was who we wanted third or fourth." But it almost seems like they probably had this guy in the back of their head for probably a good few months anyway. And we've managed to. The fact we have been able to go out and get our man is encouraging.
Yeah, well, Sweet probably had a dossier ready to go on him, and if you think back to that 55-minute press conference, Gary said Rob's head had gone for for months, maybe even up to a year, that he lost focus. So it's good that they acted quickly. Yeah, you could see it.
You could see it in his eyes. Yeah, he was an unwell man. So he's aged. He aged like a president in a year and a half.
Yeah, he looked like Obama. Like, but that's like over 8 years. This was like over the span of 10 months. He looked like he aged quite a bit. Still very handsome.
I wouldn't be complaining.
No, of course you wouldn't. Right, Mike, I'm going to get the next caller in. Thank you very much for joining. Like, we haven't had you on here since you were talking about...
shooting Pelly Ruddock.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your thoughts on Pelly before you go? What are your thoughts on how Pelly fits into this new 4-3-1 system? Squad player?
One thing there was an interview, one of the interviews I listened to today, and it was from, I think it was actually Bloomfield. No, it was from Gary Sweet earlier with 3CR. And he said that the reason they appointed Bloomfield was he's very data-driven. And he said, the data drives the way that we select our team at Luton Town. Now that suggests to me that for whatever reason, Pelly doesn't have that magic statistic which gets him on that team sheet. Obviously I feel that Pelly is a bit of a chaotic element to have in the team, as proven by the game against Derby. He came on that pitch, and I feel he changed the game when he did come on. I think there's definitely a place for him, especially with the way that it seems that Bloomfield does play. Back to starting every week, I don't know. But then, given the choice between Nakamba or Ruddock, I think we'd probably, every single one of us in this chat would probably pick Ruddock over Nakamba at this point.
Yeah.
For reasons I said, I think in the summer, I think Nakamba is a hell of a risk to have because he's been a sick note at every club he's been at. So
yeah. That period we had Nakamba, like when we got promoted, that was probably the best he's played in his career.
Yeah, and I think we got sold on that, and potentially we've got him for another 2 years.
18 months. Look on the bright side.
18 months.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Cheers.
Right, so it'd be interesting to know what the people in the chat think of, what's going to happen in terms of in terms of Pelly Ruddock. What's going to happen with Pelly now? Like, is he going to get more game time or less game time than under Rob Edwards? Personally, I'd love to see Pelly get some game time because, as Mike correctly said, he is such a disruptive influence. Like, potentially, like bring Pelly on in the 60th minute and just let him rampage around. Let's read some comments. But Simon, I will get to you, and Matt, you'll be on after Simon. It's just I'm just going to read some comments first. Mason Tager, the aura of that man on my screen is unfathomable. Thank you very much, Mason. Appreciate that. Dan Club, I hope it doesn't end in tears. What, with Bloomfield? Well, I guess if there's relegation, it's a calculated risk. And there's no way of saying, like, we could have brought in Sean Dyche, and who knows if he would have kept us up, and who knows if he even wanted to come here. He didn't want before. Mason again, I'm happy with Bloomfield. I like his attacking desire, and he looks like he can have a bit of anger in him. So hopefully he gets into the players. That's a good point, because the players, I feel Rob was chummy with too many of them. So I think it's wonderful that we have a manager potentially. Kate, editor Kate, his new toy is Isaiah Jones. Yeah, he really loves having Isaiah Jones. He works with pace, doesn't he? Because that's a big part of his attack. Right, Andy Folds. My first impressions of the new appointment is overall very good. We need someone who's ambitious, hungry, and determined to be successful, as he has already proven at League One level already. Thank you very much for your comment, Andy. Right, we're going to bring in Simon. Hashtag in Tom Lockyer we trust, the guy that boils piss all over Twitter. How are we getting on, Si?
I'm doing good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm happy with the appointment. What are
So
your
am I,
thoughts?
to be honest.
Yeah?
So am I. Listen, as you know, I was a supporter of Rob Edwards, no matter what anyone says over the last few weeks. I've supported him for a long time. I backed him. I thought he was the man for the job. I said it on Twitter. I said it to you privately. I thought Edwards was the man at the start of the season. I know you know that, and I was very open.
You know what my thoughts were.
I do indeed, and as I said, you said to me at the time he's on a bit of a fraud watch, and I was like, no, rubbish, just rubbish. But you were completely correct. Yeah, as much as that pains me to say.
Say it again.
Yeah, I know you don't hear that enough.
Say it again, please. I'm almost there.
But at the end, also, even though I have been very openly critical of Rob Edwards' tactics for the last, I don't know, month and a half, whatever, whenever we lost to Middlesbrough, that was when things for me were untenable. That's when I started saying, look, we can't carry on like this. That was when I started saying things about Edwards, even though others would have you believe I've been banging on about it for a year, which is simply not true. And to the people on Twitter who were saying, oh, well, I'm not sure about this. Oh, mithering a bit about it. Get behind the manager. Like, this is it now. Edwards has changed. We've got in what is a pretty promising upcoming English manager in Bloomfield. I know everyone was thinking Cooper. I wanted Schumacher. We were throwing these names out. Cooper was never going to be a realistic proposition for us at this stage. It wasn't on the table. I don't think Cooper was anywhere close to agreeing. It seems like the club already had Bloomfield in mind, and they had probably been thinking about it for a little while, was what was said. We could have appointed worse, in all honesty. We could have appointed a worse manager than this. And I think we need to get behind him. We need to get an atmosphere back at home, because we are sorely missing an atmosphere at home. And we've got to kick on now. Edwards is gone. It's the Bloomfield era. And I've got some hope for him, man, especially after watching Lewis Williams' video on him as well. And the things that people who work with him and play with him have said. The future feels a bit brighter today than it did last week.
It does indeed. I get the feeling that just having a new manager will give everyone a lift. Like I don't think I'm going to be able to get Bring Me Sunshine going pre-match because to us some valid points being raised about there being too many words. But you know, it's still a great anthem. Like maybe the club should pump out a town called Malice because that tends to get everyone going. It certainly did
Yeah.
when we were going up the leagues.
I hope they've got better speakers at Power Court.
You know, the speakers aren't so bad. I remember when those speakers were put in, the Pro Ls, and I was thinking at the time, because it was around the time Bill Tomlins took over, old dodgy Bill, and he took over, and then next thing I know, I'm looking up in the roof of the main stand, I'm like, oh, those are new speakers. Look at those. So, and I remember them being pretty decent back then, and now, like, since they've actually turned the volume up a little bit, you can actually hear stuff. So it's not so bad.
We heard more from Gary Sweet today than I think we've heard over the majority of the season.
Yeah.
If it had been like that a few months ago, I don't think things would have got quite as sour.
Yeah. Well, it was more about the process, the hiring process that he was talking about. And it was welcomed. It was welcomed. I would just say don't get used to that type of thing.
No, hell no.
Well, certainly not while we're, you know, in the bottom half of the table and currently in the relegation zone because Cardiff are winning against Watford. So, which isn't a bad thing. But, I mean, it's a bad thing we're in the relegation zone, but we have a new manager, so it's all gravy and rainbows now, isn't it?
You'd like to think that some of the players, for whatever reason, who weren't performing under Edwards, whether that be for too many instructions, out of position, whatever the hell reason it was, you've got to turn the page now. As a player, as a fan, you know, you now have to impress a new manager who's not going to have formed those favourites yet. And you've just got to start earning your wages, lads, because we pay you well here these days. You earn good money at Luton Town now. We know you're better than this. We've had a change of manager who's hopefully going to simplify things, and let's just get some coherent football going. I'm not expecting miracles overnight. No one should be expecting a complete miracle overnight. But what we do expect is something that makes a bit more sense and puts a bit more of the Luton way back into things.
Mm-hmm. The players did look very confused during the Edwards era. And from this Coach's Voice article that keeps getting spammed in chat, and I'm sure you've seen it, it's been all over Twitter. Everyone's sharing it and being like, oh, look what I found. When in reality, everyone's seen it. He likes to keep it simple. Not possession for possession's sake. I had a look at the Wickham numbers. For possession, they are, you know, they just shade possession on average in games. I think they have averaged 50.8%.
Yeah, just
possession.
over 50%.
Yeah, but you know what is interesting from the numbers? Now, I talked about this in my Matt Bloomfield reaction video when I reacted to his appointment. The amount of touches in the opposition box, they are far and away for head and shoulders above second place for touches in the opposition box in Birmingham. Far and away, like 617, I think. And then Birmingham are like 580 something. That's just sensational because that is something that we've been missing completely in terms of the final third. We've been missing so much in the final third. And obviously speed of the attackers plays a big part in how many penalties they've won as well.
It'll be interesting, following on from what Gary Sweet said about wanting to be aggressive over the rest of the transfer market. To be fair, they were aggressive with getting this manager in. They turned this around. They got this done. And you can't fault them for the way they've gone about this and handled their business in order to give Matt the time he needs now to bring in a couple of players he wants, move a couple out the door. You've got to think that at least two are leaving. At least I'd expect Woodrow maybe to be on his way out of this window. Joe Taylor has already gone. who else do you reckon might be walking out the door this window? Because you might see it as more than one, maybe a defender.
I think Mads Anderson should go out on loan. I don't think it's worth selling him, but he needs game time.
Yeah,
and
I think Mads Anderson would be the sensible option to go out, just for his own sake, because it's not really worked here so far. He's been around quite a while now, and we haven't seen very much Mads Anderson. Maybe a League One move will help sort him out a bit again.
Yeah, like maybe go back to Barnsley to like sort of rebottle that lightning, because he was fantastic at Barnsley. He comes to us, he starts off all right, and then the injury, and it's concerning. I'm just pulling up the squad list to see who could go. So did you see the rumor about Victor Moses apparently going to Coventry?
Yeah, Coventry.
Oh, that would be
wonderful.
wonderful.
I got tagged in that by a couple of them lot, and I didn't even really reply because I thought, now surely that's nonsense. But now the more I think about it, is it nonsense?
Well, Victor Moses, I think he played with Frank Lampard back with Antonio Conte. I don't know if Frank Lampard was actually around at that point, but maybe Daiki Hashioka goes. I know he's only just got here, but maybe he's a Bloomfield option. I'm not sure. Eric Peters, no idea if he's even still around. We got Chris Makoso in. Other than Mads Anderson, I can't really think of another defender. Or Victor Moses, another defender. Well, Victor Moses being used as an attacker, he could be very good, couldn't he?
Yeah, but we just haven't done it. Just haven't done it. Whether through choice or whatever it was just a mess. At the end of the
Edwards said, well, if Victor Moses is good enough to win the Premier League as a wing back, I'll play him as a wing back. But, someone should have told Rob Edwards that Victor Moses won the Premier League playing as a right wing back, not a left wing back.
Yeah. It was bad at the end. But it's time. It definitely is time to put it to bed. It's time to get behind Bloomfield.
Draw a line under it.
Yeah. There's no point in being negative for negative's sake. We've had way too much negativity around the club from the Premier League relegation and just this season as a whole. It's time to give the man a chance. He might not have been your first choice, but he's the man we've got now. And there's some promising stuff about him. And I'm quite happy about it. I haven't got no complaints.
Yeah. Well said. Look, no complaints here as well. Right, Si, I'm gonna kick you and bring in.
No worries,
Matt.
mate. I'll speak to you later.
Yeah, catch you soon, mate. Right, that was Simon saying, we've all got to get behind the team, which we do indeed. Right, some comments. Oh, Anderson is not going out. Gary Sweet was talking about him like being a new signing. Oh God, I've probably got to watch this. It's behind a paywall, so I'll have to find a way to watch it, or I'll just read all the write-ups about it. I can't believe Anderson isn't going out on loan. He probably needs it because we have quite a few centre-backs. I don't know how well he play in a back four, but I guess we'll see. Oh, and Watford have one back. Everyone's happy. We are staying up. Well, we are staying up because of Matt Bloomfield. And now on to another Matt. We have Matt joining us for the phone-in. Good evening, Matt. How are you?
Good evening. Good, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to this era of Matt Bloomfield ball. What about you?
I was thinking earlier, this is going to be the first game on Saturday that I'm actually looking forward to since October the 19th.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And I think it will be a sellout, a genuine sellout, not one of those where they announce on the tannoy 11,500 and I've got like 10 seats around me on either side, and I can just see seats dotted all over the place. I genuinely think this could be a sellout because people are excited, but people shouldn't get ahead of themselves. So what are you looking for from this era of Matty Bloomfield?
Some attacking football would be good because the lack of goals from open play is it's pretty stark, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a stat in the Forest game that we've 40% of our goals this season have come from set pieces.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You've got to be able to mix that.
42.08%.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
alarming.
I mean,
and there aren't many goals
it
either.
is. No. And I'm just hoping that the players feel more confident, and then in turn the fans will feel more confident, and they'll feed off each other more than anything.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Do you think like Rob's demeanour was kind of rubbing off on the players? Like, I know we've had Jordan Clark and Carlton Morris saying, yeah, we back the gaffer, but do you think potentially it was sort of seeping out into the team like a toxic spill?
I think when Rob came in the championship season, obviously he was very positive and upbeat, and that feeds into the players. And then obviously in the Premier League, it's a bit different because he probably tried to stay upbeat, and they probably were, because it was the season of their lives for a lot of them. A lot of those players will never play in the Premier League again, probably. And then obviously this season the players' confidence is short, and you're looking at your manager and his confidence is slowly draining away. And who do you turn to pick yourself up? And he needed picking up by them, and they needed picking up by him, but it just didn't happen. And ultimately the fans couldn't even pick him up because, like one of the earlier callers said, the atmospheres at home this season have not been good, which is understandable. But I'm hoping that now we've got a bit of a reset, that we can get back to making that atmosphere that teams don't want to come and play in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I told you, I'm sure you've looked into the Wickham's scoring numbers. I found it was very interesting in the statement that the club said across the calendar year of 2024, Wickham have scored 107 goals, and then for contrast, across 2024, Luton Town have conceded something like 107 goals. That's just sublime.
Yeah. I mean, the defence needs sorting out. That's nobody can argue that. But if you start scoring goals, then it takes away some of the spotlight from the defence.
It does, and well, look, Wickham aren't clean sheet specialists either. They're not near the top in terms of clean sheets. They just happen to score more than the other team, and tend to only concede one at a time. But they average on average. You can tell I haven't had much sleep. They average 2 goals per game, which is good. Because goals are a premium that we just don't have right now.
No. And we definitely need to sign. I think we need to sign. I think they need to get in the transfer window. I'd try and get rid of Woodrow and try and sign at least one striker, maybe even 2. Maybe someone from very low down divisions that's got some promise, but then also maybe someone that's a bit more proven. I know that a lot of people are talking about him bringing, is it Kone from Wickham?
Yeah. Do you think that Wickham will allow us to go back there and poach their top scorer? He's got 15 goals this year.
If the money's right.
Yeah, true. And they let Matt Bloomfield go for like a low amount as well, although the compensation's set in the contract at the beginning of it. I do agree that we need other strikers, although with this formation that he is allegedly going to play a 4-2-3-1. So we'll have the wide men. And so that 3 behind the striker. So we have Morris, Elijah, who will likely be the strikers. And then in the wide forward roles, we have Brown, Nelson, Jones, Woodrow, who everyone wants to go right now. Like, no one thinks he's up to this level. Personally, I think he's like bottom end League 1, League 2 level. Like, if we can flog him to Wrexham, happy days. But I don't think that will happen, to be honest, as much as they love former Luton Town players. where do you reckon the reinforcements need to come on that forward line? Because it's all very well saying a striker, but then we have, who are we going to sign that's going to want to play third fiddle to Elijah and Carlton?
My worry about Carlton and Elijah is that they haven't really got any competition. So
Yeah.
they need someone to make them feel like their place is threatened. Because at the moment, it doesn't feel like they've got anybody. I mean, one player I'd love us to sign, particularly with Bloomfield and the way he plays, although I know it's never going to happen, would be someone like Connor Chaplin.
Connor Chaplin. Isn't he a starter now?
I don't know if he's been playing for Ipswich, but someone like that, an attacking midfielder that can create goals, score goals.
Yeah, like a Smodics. Not that we're going to get
like a
Smodics.
playmaker, yeah.
Wait,
someone.
Jed Wallace. Do you reckon? Do you think Jed Wallace could be a shout? Because I've read the reports that he's happy to leave West Brom.
Yeah, I just feel in midfield we're lacking a more attack-minded midfielder. I mean, I see obviously Nakamba's a defensive midfielder. Walsh, I see him as a more defensive midfielder because if you watched him on Saturday, he was picking the ball up off the defence all the time. So he's always starting.
Can't play him as a 10. You can play him in the double pivot. Can't play him as a 10 though. And you can't play Fanny as a 10 either. Like regardless of what Rob Edwards was trying to do. I do think we do need a 10. I said it in my instant reaction. Like I don't think we have a player who would fit the Bloomfield mold. Like there is potentially Tahith Chong, but I think he'd probably be more of a wide man in this setup, in my opinion, anyway, than a 10. Yeah. We definitely don't have.
Yeah, Chong's got to play on the left.
Yeah,
got to play on the left. He's too one-footed to play on the right.
Mm-hmm. There's a shout here in the comments. Asgard from Wigan. Is he still at Wigan? I can't remember now. But
he scored twice tonight.
Has he? Well,
he scored one, but I think they said he scored both of them.
I remember this absolutely sensational goal he scored at Kenilworth Road, where he cut in the half space and just bent it in as well. That was a cracker of a shot. Absolute belter. And he was on my radar from back then. I'd take him.
But yeah, if you look at the squad list, for me, the midfielders are all more defensive minded in terms of centrally than they are attacking. Even Kraus to me seems more defensive minded.
Yeah, but he was playing advanced, wasn't he? We were pushing him too far advanced. Yeah, like on this FOTMob list, the only attacking-minded midfielders, Jordan Clark and Tahith Chong, but Tahith Chong is probably more of a wide man. Yeah, there's no really a real attacking intent, is there? There so many defensive midfielders, or eights as they call them, or sixes and eights, but no 10s.
Which is crazy. We got a squad full of defensive midfielders. Yet for the best part of 90% of the season, we've only played 2 in midfield.
Yeah, and the amount of goals we conceded as well, because they're busy chasing shadows in midfield and being pulled apart. It's it was the right time. It was the right time for Edwards to go. It really was. So going into we're already like 2 weeks now into this transfer window. How much more do you reckon we're going to spend? I know this is complete speculation. Do you think we're going to go out big for the rest of this window?
No. I think we might get a couple of players in, but I don't think we'll spend big. I don't think we'll spend big, but I don't necessarily think we need to spend big. I think we need to find, like Jones used to, find players that we can improve, that have potential. We don't need to go out and spend £10 million on a player or something like that. It's I just don't think we need to. We just. But it'll be interesting to see how these players react to a new manager, whether they look completely different on Saturday.
I'm excited to see it, and you've already said you're excited to see it as well. I can't wait for the Bloomfield era. I really can't. But Matt, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries.
Yeah, and I'll
Take
catch
care.
you at the next one. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.
Right. Matt raised a very good point there. This is actually going to football has become kind of just a thing that you do at Luton. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pick up my dad and we're gonna go to Luton. And they always ask me, are we gonna be happy when we're driving back in a couple of hours' time? And I always think, no. But now I'm actually excited because I can't wait to see what sort of reaction the players are going to have, what formation we're going to set up, who's going to make the team, and who's going to get a chance. Really, it is interesting. It's always very exciting when a new manager comes in, and this is a very exciting appointment. Right, joining us now, it's the star of Luton Town YouTube. It's Lewis Williams. How are you getting on, Lewis?
I'm very happy. We have a new manager.
You've been calling for it for a while, haven't you? For Edwards to leave, and what was the feeling when it happened?
For me, it was kind of like sad, but the right. You just knew it was the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I just felt like a change was needed. I think the board, whatever your thoughts are, whether it, they gave him too much time. They gave him time. No one can deny that. No one. We'll all look back at this and go, you know what? Despite us wanting him gone at Middlesbrough away during the 5-1 defeat, the board stuck by him. They gave him more time, but we didn't see any improvements. So we had to depart ways because it looked like we were going down one way and we just didn't know how to win games of football.
Yeah, very true. It did start to look like a relegation spiral tailspin that we just simply weren't going to get out of. So when the news broke about Matt Bloomfield, what was your immediate reaction? Not when he was announced, when you saw the odds and it pretty much looked nailed on that Bloomfield was coming in.
Well, my initial thoughts about Bloomfield was, is it too early in his manager career? And then someone told me he's actually more experienced than Rob and Nathan when we hired them as the manager. He's actually managed more games. So I was like, oh, when you say it like that, he's more experienced. It's just maybe I kind of wanted someone with more championship experience in managing. But then I was looking at the options and I thought the best option, and we kind of missed him, was Gary Rowett, who's gone to Oxford. I thought he would have been absolutely perfect. But then when you look at the other options, I kind of wasn't feeling it. The only one I was feeling was Schumacher, which was the free one. You could have got him on a free. But they obviously see something in Matt Bloomfield. And from what I've seen from the interviews, I'm excited. I really am doing even more research on him. I just can't wait for Saturday now. I'm now looking forward to going to a game of football, which I haven't been for the last couple of months.
That's so true. It's exactly what Matt just said. The previous caller. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since being excited. So, what have you found out from your research based off? Because your videos were being discussed earlier. I think Simon was saying your video about Matt Bloomfield in particular was very good. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because as you've seen, I've been cranking out things all day. Then I had to take my little girl to gymnastics. So what was the gist?
I just think you know how the cliche with data nowadays, the line which he used was, yes, data is evolving and we have to evolve, but I also use my football eyes. And that I thought was very important because I think a lot of people use that as like an old school way of just using your eyes, and then kind of dismissing data, where he's very open to both aspects. He's also open to adapting to the group. When you look at Rob, he was very stubborn in the formation. Despite the injury crisis at the back, he was still committed to play the free. I don't think we're going to get that with Matt. I think with Matt, he will adapt and he might adapt to who we're playing against. Which, for me, I don't mind that. You know, if it wins the game of football, I don't really care how you do it. Just do it, if that makes sense. But he said just there's a couple like one-liners where he was just really powerful stuff about what he wants to do with possession. How he doesn't really care about dominating the game. It's what you do with that possession. It's just like one of those types of lines he was saying. And I was just like, this is interesting. I was just having a better feeling than when Rob was in charge. Like I remember like when Rob was announced and what he was saying then. I think I was really dismissive because he was former Watford, more basically. But with Matt, I'm like, I don't know if I've sucked into the new manager. He's saying the right things type of thing. But I just feel like I feel something good's gonna happen.
Yeah, something tells me I'm into something good as well.
Yes.
You've also started a new venture on your channel, whereby you've opened up memberships. Do you want to plug that and give a little description to people watching about what you're aiming to do?
Oh, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
No worries, man.
So yeah, essentially what I'm doing is nothing really changes in regards to content. I'm smashing out content as much as possible this year, but I feel like over the last 8 weeks, on a more personal note, I've been off work for medical reasons, and it's made me like realize that actually I kind of want to do content creating on a more full-time basis, but at the moment I can't. I'm not in the position to. My full-time job, it's my main source of income. But I want to just, make my hobby into a full-time position. So basically, I'm offering memberships, which you can do through YouTube. And essentially, if people become a member on my channel, I give them perks. So the perks would be just regular updates on videos, early access to videos. I'm going to be doing live streaming soon. Could be like watch-alongs for games that are on live Q&As. Like all these different things are coming this year, which I'm now able to do due to my living situation improving. So that's why I'm able to offer these memberships and just get exclusive perks, really cheap. There's 2 levels. There's a 99p level and then there's a 199. I don't think it's right to exploit people's financially. So I feel like it's just, £2 a month or 99p a month just to help support me do it. And if 2,000 of my subscribers do it, I can do it full time.
That would be wonderful. Like living the dream, mate. Living the dream. I'd love to do it, but I think the bank would have something to say about that and chuck me and my family out of our house. But all power to you, mate. I hope you manage to do it. Like everyone, we put the Kate's dropped Lewis's channel in the chat. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. He's Lewis, you're a great guy. And I, for one, really enjoy your content. I remember meeting you at the ground. It must have been about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And you're with Dad. And I don't think I was into this at the time. But I told you, you probably don't even remember. But I think I said to you, I really love what you're doing. And then it actually inspired me to go out and get involved in content creation. I hate that term, content creation, but it kind of is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those. But I say to people now, I basically talk rubbish for 10 minutes a day and put it online.
Well, those are rookie numbers. You want to talk rubbish for 24 hours a day like me, and then people will be delighted and joining it in droves. But I really appreciate you coming on. Any other thoughts about the Bloomfield era?
I'm just really looking forward to it. I think we need to get behind these boys now. That one thing for sure is if these players can't perform under, whatever your thoughts are about Edwards, these, according to the football world, the professional game, Rob Edwards and Matt Bloomfield are highly rated in the football world. So if these players can't perform under these 2 managers, something seriously is wrong and they need to have a massive hard look at themselves. So it's time for them now to step up. We're in a situation, we need to get out of it and then we rebuild in the summer. But I'm really confident that a new voice, which we've now got, is going to spiral that, and yeah, up the championship we go.
Yeah, well said, mate. Well said. Thank you very much for joining us, Lewis. Have a great evening and enjoy editing your latest video.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
See you soon, mate. Right, that was Lewis Williams. I completely agree with him in the sense that it's what I've been saying it. Like, as soon as Edwards left, the onus is now on the players. The players need to perform. And these are good players. They are good players. Everyone says they're good players. They did well in the Premier League last season. Won plaudits. And if they've lost their motivation, so be it. They need a boot up the arse and they need to get motivated again. I probably have time for one more caller if anyone wants to get in on this. Otherwise, I will probably wrap up, but let's read some comments. Mike Kilby says, Ollie K, I've been cranking out things all day. Yeah, well, day job, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, cranking out my reaction to Bloomfield joining. Fortunately, the club announced it at 12:30. That was absolutely fantastic because it meant it gave me a bit more time to do it. And then we got the interview with Joe Jacobson that gives insight into the type of character that Matt Bloomfield is. And that's a really good one. And now we're doing this. So lots of content on the OK Football Show. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out all the bits and pieces that we're doing, because there's some great stuff and we've got even more stuff coming at you tomorrow with the match preview. Hopefully Ryman's guts have stopped falling out of his body and he'll be able to join me for the match preview and the championship prediction show. But that's us done for this week, and thank you everyone for getting involved in the chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much to all our callers. A phone in would be nothing without people phoning in, so really appreciate every single one of you. But I love doing this, and I love the fact that we now have some positivity, because since I've been doing this podcast, I think we started this audio only the season we went up to the Premier League, and we went video when we started in the Championship, and pretty much I think it's been pretty brutal since we started this, even audio only. I think how many wins did we have in the Premier League? Like 5, and we've only had 7, so maybe 13 or 14 wins in the entire time that I've been doing this pod. It's time for a change. It's the Bloomfield era. Get in. And thank you all for watching. As always, come on, you Hatters.